Sometimes fate changes from one simple decision to stop and help a stranger on the road. This is the story of a farmer on the brink of ruin who met a girl in an expensive dress next to a broken car and had no idea she was the heiress to a billion-dollar empire. It's a story about love that knows no boundaries between wealth and poverty, and about how true value isn't sold in stores but is found in the human heart. Daniel Crawford wiped the sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand and cursed under his breath for the umpteenth time, glaring at the old tractor. The engine had been acting up for the third day in a row, and there was no time for repairs. The corn harvest needed to be gathered before the first frost. Every lost day meant lost money, and he had no money to lose. 38 years old, the fourth generation of farmers in his family, and the first one who might lose the ancestral land. The letter from the bank had been lying on the kitchen table for a week. A demand to pay off a debt of $250,000 by the end of the month, or the farm would be sold at auction. "Come on, old girl," he muttered, turning the ignition key. "Don't fail me now." The engine sputtered, coughed, and died. Daniel punched the steering wheel. The drought this year had destroyed half the crop. Grain prices had hit a 10-year low, and the bank was demanding money he simply didn't have. He climbed off the tractor and opened the hood. Maybe it was the spark plugs or the fuel filter. In any case, he'd have to go to town for parts, and that required money, which, again, he didn't have. At that moment, a car drove down the road. An expensive one, judging by the sound of the engine. Daniel didn't even look up. Wealthy tourists sometimes drove through their area, admiring authentic rural America, but they didn't interact with the locals. And that was for the best. He wasn't in the mood to smile at strangers. But a few minutes later, the car returned and stopped on the shoulder. The engine was running rough, jerking, and then it died completely. A young woman in her 20s stepped out of the car. She wore an elegant blue dress and high heels, clearly not the most suitable footwear for a dirt road in Kansas. She opened the hood of her car, a silver sedan that cost more than Daniel made in a year, and stood there helplessly, holding a cell phone. "Of course," she muttered, raising the phone above her head. No signal here either. Daniel watched her from under the tractor's hood. His first impulse was not to get involved. He had enough problems of his own, and helping rich people who didn't even know how to open a hood wasn't in his plans. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the voice of his mother, who always said, "Danny, a person's worth is determined not by what they have, but by whether they're willing to help a neighbor in trouble." Or maybe it was just innate decency that wouldn't let him walk past someone else's trouble. He wiped his hands on his overalls, picked up his toolbox, and headed for the road. "Car trouble?" he asked as he approached. The woman turned around, and Daniel got a good look at her face for the first time. She was beautiful, but not with the artificial beauty of expensive salons. She had lively brown eyes, a natural blush on her cheeks, and a slight confusion in her gaze. "Oh, thank goodness," she exhaled with relief. "Yes, it just died in the middle of the road. I have no idea what's wrong with it. Mind if I take a look?" Daniel nodded toward the open hood. "Of course, please. I'm Sophia, by the way. Sophia Montgomery." Daniel Crawford. He introduced himself, leaning over the engine. The problem was simple. A loose battery terminal. A 2-minute job for someone who knew their way around machinery. "Try it now," he said, closing the hood. Sophia got behind the wheel and turned the key. The engine started on the first try, running smoothly and quietly. "Incredible," she exclaimed, getting out of the car. "How did you do that?" "Just tightened a connection," Daniel shrugged. "Nothing complicated." Sophia reached into her purse. "How much do I owe you?" "You don't owe me anything." Daniel shook his head. "Sometimes people just help each other. But you spent your time, used your tools. 5 minutes and a wrench. I don't think that's worth any money." Sophia looked at him in surprise. "You're not like the people I usually meet." "What kind of people do you usually meet?" "The kind who ask how much they'll get paid before they even ask what the problem is." Daniel smirked. "Maybe you're meeting the wrong people then." "Maybe." Sophia looked at him intently. "And you're a farmer." "Fourth generation," he answered with pride. "Though probably the last." "Why the last?" He regretted saying it. Why burden a stranger with his problems? "Times are tough for farming," he replied evasively. "Well, you should probably get going." "Where are you headed?" "Kansas City. A business meeting." Sophia paused. "You know what? I'm in no rush. Could you show me your farm? I've never seen how real farmers live." Daniel was surprised. Usually, city folks couldn't wait to get out of the boonies, but this girl was asking for a tour. I don't think you'd find it very interesting, he said. Just a regular farm, nothing special. I am interested, Sophia insisted. Honestly, I grew up in the city where people buy milk from stores and never think about where it comes from. All right, Daniel agreed. But fair warning, it's dirty, noisy, and smells like manure. I can handle it, Sophia smiled. They walked to the farmyard. Daniel showed her the barn, the pig pen, the grain silo. Sophia asked many questions, not out of politeness, but with genuine interest. How are the animals fed? What time do farmers get up? How much milk does a cow give? Why do chickens lay different sized eggs? And where's your family? She asked when they were sitting on the porch of the old house. Gone, Daniel replied shortly. Had a wife. She couldn't handle farm life. Ran off to the city 3 years ago. No kids. I'm sorry. Don't be. Better to find out before the wedding than after. Haven't you thought about moving to the city, finding an easier job? Daniel looked out at the fields that stretched to the horizon. This is my grandfather's land, my father's land. My mother is buried here. How can I just leave it? But it's hard, he agreed, especially lately. But this is my home, you understand? My life. Sophia nodded, and in her eyes, he saw understanding. And you? Daniel asked. What do you do in the big city? I work in the family business, Sophia replied evasively. Nothing interesting. Everyone has their own troubles, Daniel remarked philosophically. They sat on the porch until sunset, talking about life, dreams, and plans. Sophia turned out to be an intelligent conversationalist and an attentive listener. Daniel hadn't met someone he could talk to so easily in a long time. I should go, Sophia said as the sun touched the horizon. Thank you for the tour and for helping with the car. You're welcome. Safe travels. Daniel. Sophia hesitated by her car. Daniel, can I come back sometime? I liked it here. Of course, he said, surprised. But why? It's boring here. It's not boring, she objected. This is real life. She drove away, and Daniel stood on the road for a long time, watching her taillights disappear. Something had changed that day, but he couldn't quite understand what. A week later, Sophia returned. Daniel was fixing a fence in the pasture. When he heard the familiar engine sound, he straightened up and saw the silver sedan slowly driving down the dirt road. Hi, Sophia said, getting out of the car. This time she was dressed more practically. Jeans, a simple white blouse, comfortable sneakers. Am I interrupting? Not at all. Daniel set down his hammer. What brings you back to our wilderness? Wanted to see how the tractor was doing. Sophia nodded toward the farm equipment. Last time you said it was acting up. Still is, Daniel sighed. Needs parts, and no money for them. What if I helped with the money? No, he said sharply. Thank you. But no, I don't borrow money from strangers. But we're not strangers. We've known each other for a week now. Sophia? You're very kind, but I have my principles. She didn't insist, but Daniel saw the disappointment in her eyes. Then at least let me help with the work, she proposed. I can hand you tools, hold the boards. In those shoes. Daniel looked at her footwear. I have rubber boots in the car, she admitted. I came prepared this time. They worked until lunch. Sophia turned out to be a good helper, attentive, diligent, not afraid of getting dirty. When Daniel suggested a break, she helped prepare a simple lunch from what was in the fridge. You cook? He asked, surprised, watching her deftly chop vegetables. I learned, Sophia replied. Lived alone in college. Had to master the mysteries of the kitchen. Though now I don't have to cook for myself very often. Over lunch, they talked. Sophia told him about her childhood, a big house, private schools, governesses instead of friends. Daniel talked about farm life, where children help their parents from a young age and everyone knows their neighbors for miles around. Sounds idyllic, Sophia said. Not always, Daniel objected. It can be very lonely, especially when the young people move to the cities and the old folks die. You're left alone with the land and the cows. Don't you miss people? I do. Especially intelligent conversation. He looked at her. Like yours. Sophia blushed at the compliment. After lunch, she helped him feed the animals. The cows didn't scare her, but the chickens made her squeal with delight. They're so funny. She laughed, watching the chicks run after the hen. Like little yellow puffballs. Wait until spring, Daniel chuckled. There'll be 200 of them. No way. Way. A farm is constant production. Milk, eggs, meat, grain. People need it every day. By evening, Sophia was ready to leave. "Thank you for the day," she said. "I haven't felt this useful in a long time." "Thank you. Doing all this alone is much harder. Can I come again?" "Of course, but I don't understand what keeps you coming back. Is it really that interesting to watch me fix fences?" "It's interesting to watch an honest man live," Sophia replied seriously. The next week she came again, and then again, and again. Gradually, these visits became regular. Every weekend, Sophia appeared on the farm, helped with work, cooked lunch, and just talked. Daniel got used to her presence. More than that, he began to look forward to her arrivals. With Sophia, the farm didn't feel so lonely. She knew how to listen, gave good advice, and, most importantly, didn't pity him or look down on him. "Where did you usually spend your weekends?" he asked one day. "Before you met me?" "Mostly at home," Sophia replied evasively. "Or at some social event." "It's boring. Does your family mind you coming out to the country?" "My family doesn't always know where I spend my time," she answered carefully. Daniel noticed that Sophia avoided talking about her work, her family, her life in the city, but he didn't press. Everyone has a right to their secrets. After a month of regular meetings, a trusting relationship developed between them. Sophia learned to milk cows, bake bread, and drive the tractor. Daniel learned to talk about his problems, plans, and dreams. "You know what's strange?" he said one evening on the porch. "With you, I feel like myself. Not an unsuccessful farmer, not a loser losing the family business. Just a person." "The same thing happens to me," Sophia admitted. "For the first time in many years, I'm not thinking about what others will say about me. I'm just living." "And what do others usually say about you?" Sophia was silent for a moment. "Different things, mostly related to my family." "Your parents don't approve of us meeting?" "They don't know about it," Sophia answered honestly. "And it's better they don't know yet." "Why?" "Because they wouldn't understand." Daniel felt that this answer hid something important, but he didn't ask. Every family has its complications. By the end of the second month, he realized he was in love. Sophia had become a part of his life. He planned his work to finish everything before her arrival, bought her favorite cookies, fixed up the guest room where she sometimes stayed overnight. But he didn't dare confess his feelings. The gap between them seemed too wide. He could see it in her car, her clothes, her manners. Sophia clearly came from a wealthy family, and he was a simple farmer on the verge of bankruptcy. The truth came out by accident. Sophia, as usual, was helping Daniel in the barn when her phone rang. She excused herself and stepped away, but she spoke loudly enough for him to overhear unintentionally. "No, Dad, I can't come back right now." "Yes, I know the board is waiting." "No, it's not a whim. This is important to me." "Fine, I'll be there tomorrow." Daniel didn't pay much attention to the conversation until he heard the last phrase. "Dad, please, don't send security after me. I'm a grown woman and I decide where to spend my time." "Security? What security could a regular office worker have?" That evening, over dinner, Daniel decided to ask, "Sophia, what exactly does your family do?" She froze with her fork halfway to her mouth. "Why do you ask?" "Just curious. In 2 months, we've never really talked about your work." Sophia put down her fork and was silent for a long time. "Daniel," she finally said, "if I tell you the truth, you'll look at me differently." "What truth is so scary?" "My father is Richard Montgomery. He owns Montgomery Technology." Daniel dropped his fork. Montgomery Technology was one of the world's largest IT giants. He'd seen the company's logo on every other device. "You're a billionaire's daughter?" he breathed out. "Billionaire number 17 on the Forbes list," Sophia clarified bitterly. "And now you're looking at me differently." Daniel was indeed looking at her differently. His mind couldn't process it. The girl who had been helping him fix fences and milk cows for 2 months was one of the world's wealthiest heiresses. "Why didn't you tell me right away?" "What would have changed?" Sophia asked sadly. "Would you have started treating me like a crystal doll? Or, on the contrary, decided I'd come to amuse myself, playing at a simple life?" "I don't know," Daniel answered honestly. "Probably something would have changed. That's why I kept quiet. For the first time in my life, I met a person who sees me as just Sophia. Not the daughter of a tycoon, not the heiress to an empire, not a way to get rich. Just a woman." Daniel stood up from the table and paced the kitchen. His thoughts, feelings, and questions were all jumbled together. "So all these 2 months, you were playing at a simple life?" he asked. "No," Sophia objected hotly. "I wasn't playing. Here with you. I've been more real than I've ever been in my life. What was it then? A social experiment? Studying the life of common folk? Danny. Sophia stood and walked over to him. I fell in love with you. And with your life. And with who I become when I'm next to you. Those words stopped his racing thoughts. Sophia was confessing her love, and he was standing there thinking about money. I love you too, he said quietly. But now everything is different. What's different? Sophia, you're the heiress to a billion-dollar empire. You have mansions, yachts, private jets. And I'm a farmer on the brink of bankruptcy who might lose this very house in a month. So what? So what? We're from different worlds. We can't have a future. Sophia sat down in a chair and covered her face with her hands. Exactly. I was so afraid of this conversation. I knew the money would ruin everything. The money doesn't ruin anything. It just shows the reality. And the reality is that I can't love a man who is poorer than me. The reality is that I can't be the man who is 1,000 times poorer than the woman he loves, Daniel said firmly. What can I offer a billionaire's daughter? A life in debt, hard work from dawn to dusk, uncertainty about tomorrow. Love, Sophia simply replied. Honesty, real feelings. That's not enough for a normal life. It's enough for me. They were silent for a long time. Outside, dusk was falling. It was getting dark in the house, but no one turned on the light. What happens now? Sophia finally asked. I don't know, Daniel answered honestly. I need time to think, to process all this. Can I still come? Of course, you're always a welcome guest in my home. But both understood that something had changed irrevocably. The secret Sophia had kept for 2 months was finally out, and now an invisible wall of zeros on a bank account stood between them. The 2 weeks after the revelation passed in a strange atmosphere. Sophia continued to visit, but now there was tension between them. Daniel was polite but reserved. He no longer shared his problems or plans, and Sophia didn't dare to be as open as before. Everything changed the day the letter from the bank arrived. Daniel read it on the porch, and Sophia saw the expression on his face change from tension to despair. What's wrong? She asked. Final notice. Daniel handed her the document. By the 15th, I have to pay the debt in full, or the farm goes to auction. Sophia read the letter. The debt was $250,000. For her, it was pocket change. For Daniel, it was the collapse of his entire life. How much time do you have? 10 days. And money? About $15,000 in the bank. The rest only if I sell all the livestock and equipment. But then the farm dies for good. Sophia was silent, clearly thinking something over. Danny, she said finally, let me help. No. But why? It's just money. Just money for you, Danny. Not for me. I'm not offering you a handout. It could be an investment or a loan with interest. Sophia, I don't want to take money from a woman I love, especially when that woman is 1,000,000 times richer than me. But you'll lose the farm. I'll lose it, Daniel agreed. But I'll keep my self-respect. What will you do without the farm? I don't know. Look for work in the city. Be a driver, a security guard, a loader. Anything, as long as I'm not living off your money. Sophia jumped up from her chair. You're a stubborn fool. You're willing to lose the work of a lifetime because of your pride. And are you willing to buy my love? Daniel retorted sharply. I'm not buying. I want to help the man I love. Help. Or buy yourself a farmer like you'd buy an exotic animal for a zoo. The words were cruel, and Daniel immediately regretted them. Sophia went pale as if he'd struck her. Do you really think that? She asked quietly. No, Daniel sighed. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. What did you mean? That the difference between us in money, status, and opportunities is too great. I don't want to be a kept man. And I don't want to be a woman who can't help the man she loves because of money. They looked at each other, and in that look was everything. Love, pain, misunderstanding, despair. Sophia, Daniel said quietly. Even if you help with the debt, what then? The farm makes little money, just enough to get by. I can't provide you with what you're used to. And I don't want what I'm used to. Sophia exclaimed. I want this. She waved her hand, indicating the fields, the house, the yard. I want to wake up at dawn, work in the garden, bake bread, milk cows. I want a real life. You don't know what real life without money is like. Saving on everything. Being afraid to get sick because you can't afford treatment. Wearing the same jacket for 5 years and being happy it hasn't worn out yet. Then teach me, Danny. I'm serious. I want to stay here with you. Forever. And your family? The business? Your obligations? My father has other heirs. Cousins who are just waiting for a chance to take my place. Let them have it. You're willing to give up billions for a life with a poor farmer? Yes, if that farmer is willing to accept me for who I am, with all my money and all my problems. Daniel was silent for a long time. His feelings and his reason were at war, love versus pride. And what if in a year you realize that the romance of rural life is one thing, but the reality is something else entirely? What will you do when you get tired of getting up at 5 a.m.? When you get sick of washing dirty work clothes? When you want to go to the theater, a restaurant, a resort? I don't know, Sophia answered honestly. But I know that right now, I don't want anything except to be next to you. And I know that I love you more than my own pride, Daniel finally said. And I'm willing to take that risk. So you agree? You'll accept my help. I'll accept it. But on conditions. What conditions? It will be a loan. With interest. To be repaid within 10 years. And no gifts. No charity. Agreed. And if you decide to return to your old life, no reproaches from me. And if I don't, then we live like a normal family, on what we earn with our own labor. Sophia walked over to him and took his hands. Danny, I want to be your wife. Not temporarily, not as an experiment. Forever. And I want you to be my wife, he replied. Despite all the differences between us. Then it's almost settled. All that's left is to save the farm and explain to your father why his billionaire daughter is marrying a bankrupt farmer. With the farm, we'll manage. With my father, that will be harder. 6 months passed from the day Sophia made her choice. The debt was paid, the farm saved. Silk dresses were replaced by work jeans, manicures by calloused palms. Socialite parties were replaced by evenings on the porch. Any regrets? Daniel asked. About what? Sophia looked at the sunset over the fields. For the first 30 years, I was in a gilded cage. People were friends with me for my money. Men courted me for my inheritance. Now, for the first time, I know who I am without my father's last name. In those months, Sophia learned to grow vegetables, make preserves, and sew clothes. Her hands had become rough, but Daniel thought she was more beautiful than ever. In the spring, there was a crisis. The cows got sick, and they spent all their savings on treatment. Sophia, you could take money from your account, Daniel suggested. No, we agreed to live on what we earn ourselves. They managed. Sophia sold baked goods. Daniel did side jobs fixing machinery. In the fall, Sophia's father came. Richard Montgomery watched his daughter for 2 days, expecting to see her unhappy. Instead, he saw a happy woman. Crawford, he said to Daniel, I don't approve of my daughter's choice, but I see that she's happy, perhaps for the first time in her life. Take care of her. I promise, sir. A year later, they married. A simple wedding in the local church. Sophia in a self-sewn dress. Any regrets? Daniel asked during their first dance. It's the best decision of my life. Now, 3 years later, they run a thriving farm. Sophia started an organic produce business. Daniel expanded the operation. You know what I'm thinking? Sophia said on the porch. If my car hadn't broken down that day, we never would have met. And I would have lost the farm, Daniel finished. And you would still be living in a gilded cage. But we did meet, Sophia said, taking his hand. And we got a chance at a real life. Daniel thought that the most important decisions are made in an instant. The decision to help a stranger had changed everything. His fate and the fate of the billionaire heiress who dreamed of simple happiness.